Hello, friends. Chris Corsi here, and I want to welcome you to the new Relational Skills in Real Life podcast. Today is episode 10, and this is an important episode that I've been excited about for some time. The focus today is appreciation in marriage. So we've looked at appreciation in parenting. Well, now it's appreciation in marriage. And you know what? Appreciation is packaged joy. Packaged joy where we reflect on the good stuff. We remember the good stuff, we feel the good stuff, and we share the good stuff. So appreciation is actively recalling moments of joy. And when we remember these moments of joy, what happens is your nervous system responds as though you went back in time and you're reliving the moment all over again. In fact, studies have shown that when people are sharing their stories and sharing the good stuff, what happens is if these stories are told well, then the listener's brains are responding similarly to the storyteller's brains, which means they're matching each other. So even the listener their brains responding as though they're experiencing this moment as well. So appreciation is a gift that keeps on giving. And in marriages, appreciation is probably one of the best places to show up to really impact our marriage relationship. And so, appreciation it helps us to feel the good stuff, expect the good stuff, and enjoy and share the good stuff. So appreciation, really, when we use it in our marriages, it reminds us of what is the good stuff in my marriage, right? Because the brain that's not practicing appreciation will get stuck on what's wrong, right? It'll focus on problems. It'll focus on pain. It'll get stuck on offenses. And so it becomes very critical, very judgmental. And appreciation helps us to be able to activate the good stuff and remind ourselves of the good stuff. And so appreciation really is the oil in the engine of our marriage relationship. And so we just have to take the time to create the habits where we activate appreciation and remember the good stuff. So we think about, we feel, and we share the good stuff. And that's what we're talking about here with appreciation. So we remember the positives. We remember what's important in our marriage. We highlight the good stuff in our spouse. We recover from conflicts better because we've learned to bounce back. So your brain is actually expecting to find some joy and peace after the upset. It also helps us to heal after our hurt. So when we start sharing appreciation, what we appreciate and enjoy in our spouse, and remember those and reflect on those good times. And what happens is it actually helps to minimize the relational casualty in our marriages. So we remember who we are. We remember who our spouse is when we practice appreciation. And it also helps us to stay relationally engaged because the practice of appreciation activates the relational center in your brain. So this helps you to navigate life and conflicts and hardship well, so you stay relational. And appreciation is also the doorway to rest. So practicing appreciation helps us be able to access rest states, and it primes us to see some of what God sees. So friends, there's just so many good things that grow in this garden when we use appreciation in our marriages. But today's focus is on my friend Andy. So Andy came to me because his marriage wasn't doing well. This boat was taking in some water. And he said, Chris, I don't know what else to do. We've been through counseling. We've gone to seminars, conferences. I don't know what else to do. So when I heard Andy's situation, I said, you know what? It sounds like problems are taking over joy. I suggest you take some time to practice skill 4, creating appreciation. And he was all ears. So he said, well, tell me, what does that mean? What does that look like? So I explained to him just how important appreciation is and how we can practice appreciation on a regular basis, and how inserting this skill into our life and our marriage will change the game, right? It will help you go from surviving to thriving. And so Andy started to practice appreciation. He practiced appreciation on his own, and he invited his wife to practice appreciation with him. So during meal times, or really any opportunity they had a few minutes on date nights, they would regularly practice appreciation. So that it was the active reflecting on the good stuff and then sharing it. So what started to happen is that the arguing and fighting started to, the volume started turning down on the intensity. So they noticed they started to connect a little better. They started to get relational, be able to get relational again after those times of maybe a conflict or just some hard discussion. So they were kind of cushioning themselves and cushioning their hardships with the parachute of appreciation so that they didn't fall down hard So it was helping them learn to interact. And they noticed appreciation was actually helping to dissolve the resentment and the bitterness that was kind of mounting. And so they started to feel like, okay, they could breathe a little easier. They could start to feel some peace. And really, they could start to remember who each other was. And there was one particular exercise that I asked them to do. And it's in a lot of the materials that we teach, but it's an appreciation exercise that I encourage couples to do before bed, where you're cuddling and holding your spouse, you're holding each other. And then you just take a few minutes to reflect on some of the highlights from your day. So as you're cuddling, you activate some of those appreciation memories by thinking about good things from your day. Even if it was a hard day, even if it was a bad day, try to activate appreciation. And after you do that, each person takes their turns with the specific examples. Then I had Andy do this. And then you share with your spouse what you appreciate about your spouse that you saw in action in that day. So for example, I might say to my wife, Jen, I really appreciated your hospitality when our friends came over today. I just so value how you work so hard to take care of our friends when they're here, and you're just a good host. And I like seeing that in action. You're really good at that. So we share those appreciation moments, highlighting what we enjoy in our spouse with examples, and we take turns. And then the last step would be, what do we appreciate about God, with examples from the day? So another example might be, I really appreciate God's faithfulness. I was thinking about that today when I was stuck at work and I was in a hard situation. I remembered God's faithfulness before, and that gave me hope to really expect God's faithfulness here in the present. So I just thank God for showing up and providing for me today. So real life examples, we're aiming for 3 for each step, 3 things, and we take turns. And so I asked Andy to do that and try practicing that. If he can do it every night, better. But even if it's every other night, that's fine. But let's try to do this daily if possible. And they noticed that they really enjoyed each other more. They found that exercise was helpful to help them relax more from maybe a hard day or a long day. They started to feel more peace and less defensiveness with each other. They started to feel more rested, less anxious, less focused on what's wrong, and started seeing what's right. And one of the things that he told me was, he said, I started to remember why I married my spouse. I started to remember the qualities that I enjoyed in my spouse. And he became more sensitive and tender with some of his wife's struggles, some of her weaknesses, some of the things about her that were hard for her. He started to feel tender. He started to feel a little more protective of her. And he didn't want to cause her pain because he started to remember who she is and who God made her to be. So there was a change in tone, how they interacted, a change in voice tone and demeanor, because they were basically inserting this skill a lot more into their interactions and into their days. So they had more of a welcoming stance with each other, less defensive, more curious about what's going on, rather than just focusing on what's wrong or focusing on the pain or the offense. It's like, I wonder what's going on here. So they started to be more relational and more curious. And so this was a turning point for Andy and his marriage. This was a game changer. Simple skill, not rocket science, but it is a little bit of brain science, just learning to practice appreciation and inserting this skill into your life, into your relationships, especially your marriage relationship. You're going to get a lot of bang for your buck when you practice this skill. You are going to help grow the good stuff, foster joy, increase peace, and turn the volume down on pain and problems. Pain and problems still there. They're still going to happen. But what it does is it gives you the strength to navigate those things. So as we think about this skill, I just want to encourage you to practice this skill. It just takes a few minutes. You can even look at pictures on your phone and just try to remember the good stuff and feel the good stuff and share the good stuff. And you watch what happens. Don't take my word for it. You try it and you see the difference and you feel the difference, and watch what happens. So I hope this is the start of something good for you. And some of you might be wondering, well, where do we go from here if we want to learn more about this? My friend Marcus Warner and I wrote a book called The 4 Habits of Joy-Filled Marriages. This is a great book, has a lot of really good exercises. That would be, exercises that build a lot of joy and help you practice appreciation. We also have appreciation on our Foundational 5 webpage at Thrive Today, our website. And the links to the book and the website will be found in this podcast episode. And may appreciation be the start of something good.